Tonight's most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News where it's 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. Well, guess what? We finally get a warming trend on our way. We might have to do it with some scattered afternoon showers, but at least we're going to get closer to our June-like temperatures. We'll start with the Skywatch Storm Tracker where the Wednesday morning rain has stayed out to our northeast, kind of very light right there, moving on the other side of I-44 headed toward Rolla, so we're off to a quiet start, mostly cloudy at the same point in time. We still do have flood advisories. These have been downgraded from warnings that we had earlier. These are now advisories for, we see Lawrence, we see Newton, we see portions of McDonald, and we see Berry County, all a part of those, lasting until 9 o'clock this morning. And hopefully we can let those expire, get us some dry days here and not have to worry about additional flooding. There's a live look over 7th and Range Line. Nice to have the intersection dry, finally. 60 degrees is what we have right now. So it's a little bit chilly outside with a north wind coming in at 3 miles per hour. I say chilly, but that's just because we still have some 57s out there in Neodesha and Parsons, 55 in Sedan and Independence. And now we see the eastern edge of southwest Missouri, actually some of our warmer spots, as we roll 61 in Cassville and 60 in Monette. Our weather trend going to put us up into the mid 70s here later on today, and we'll finally get some sunshine, even though we're going to start with the clouds. Now we talked about a little afternoon scattered rain. That's not going to be anything severe. We don't see a whole lot of yellow popping up there, and then we clear off overnight into Thursday. And once we get to Thursday, that is when the warming trend begins in earnest, as we're going to be pushing up high 70s, low 80s on into the weekend. Now, Thursday and Friday, our rain chances are going to be one of those typical kind of early summer shots where it kind of formulates during the afternoon where it gets a little warmer. Same thing on Saturday and Sunday. Next real big uptick in rain is going to be Monday and Tuesday, and even at the same point in time, no cold front behind that as we're able to stay in the 80s. The man who tried to rescue 12-year-old Kaylin Brown has died. 34-year-old Trevor Hicks was pulled from Shoal Creek by rescue crews on Wednesday. Hicks had gone in to try to rescue the child who had been swept away in the current. Kaylin Brown died and Hicks was hospitalized. Missouri State Highway Patrol reports that Hicks died Tuesday morning. A GoFundMe page was set up to support the Hicks family. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says 4 people died on Missouri roads during the Memorial Day weekend. 2 others died on the water. The patrol releasing figures for the 3-day weekend that began Saturday and ended Monday. MoHiPo cited 270 accidents on roads and 10 involving boats. Jasper County Health Department reports 2 new COVID-19 deaths. The patients, 2 men, one who was in his 50s, the other in his 60s. The latest deaths bring the county's total to 158. Now, prior to yesterday's report, it had been about a month since the last reported COVID-19 death in Jasper County. The Joplin Health Department also reporting a new COVID-19 death, its first since March. This patient was a 77-year-old man. Joplin's city total now 131. There was some confusion in Chautauqua, Kansas after a woman's electricity was shut off. Charmin Vaughn says her electricity was turned off Tuesday morning because she could not pay for part of her bill. The city-operated utility in Chautauqua saw bills skyrocket when gas prices climbed during the bitter cold in February, and customers were to pay off their bills through monthly installments. Vaughn says she was waiting for a shutoff notice so she could finish her application for low-income energy assistance through the state. But she says she did not get anything other than her normal bill.
I've been told by the city that it's on the back of your bill. We don't send out shutoff notices. It's on the back of your bill. That is your shutoff notice. Okay, that'd been nice to know this whole time.
Now, between Vaughn and our communication with the city of Chautauqua, the right paperwork was sent in to make sure her assistance continued. That paid her balance, so her electricity was turned back on. City officials say other residents whose electricity is turned off should attend a city council meeting so the council can discuss an individual plan. Meetings are the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. Neosho City Council met on Tuesday. One item on the agenda discussing the possibility of updating a city ordinance for keeping of animals such as chickens and roosters. The reason it was brought up was due to increased complaints from residents about odor and noise. Police say if an ordinance were in place, they'd be able to enforce codes and keep the animals under control.
Well, we have an animal control officer and we have a code enforcement, so if these ordinances were to change and we got complaints to certain areas and they were in violation of that ordinance, they would receive a warning for a while, and then it would go into citations.
After the council meeting, Neosho City Council says this issue would be covered under the city's existing noise ordinance, and police would issue citations under that. This is what the Joplin DMV looked like last week when severe storms brought flooding to the 4 states. And this is what it looks like now after things dried out. But an improvement is coming thanks to some volunteers. Joplin High School football players. They stopped by the DMV to help. Flooding damaged tons of furniture and other items inside the office building, so the volunteers helped remove many of those items. DMV, it has been closed since the flood. Officials say it'll still be a few days before they're able to reopen. Joplin Public Library announced the start of its summer reading program. This year's theme is what's called Tales, as in animal tales and tales. The program features challenges based on reading time, which people of all ages can work towards to earn prizes.
A big component of the summer reading program here in the children's department is to help kind of mitigate the summer slide, the loss of literacy skills over the summer. And so we really want to kind of keep reading the focus in children's and families' lives throughout the summer.
Now, to get more people involved, the city is offering free trolley passes throughout the reading program for those who sign up. Fort Scott, Kansas Public Library, once again open to the public. Had been closed during the pandemic, and there are still some pandemic-era rules in place. While masks are not required, visitors are asked to follow CDC guidelines. Library hours are now 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 1:30 on Saturdays. A new event's headed to downtown Miami as the city announced today that the Route 66 Heritage Festival is going to run from July 30th to the 31st.
Get ready to, kind of celebrate the other side of COVID and really celebrate being back out, being a part of what makes Miami, and just welcoming, visitors from really everywhere traveling Route 66. We want this to be an annual destination event. We want when people are planning their Route 66 trip, they'll plan it around this weekend in Miami, Oklahoma, because they'll, the national acts and the things that will continue.
The Route 66 Heritage Festival features vendors and music from Keith Anderson, Jared Neiman, and Thompson Square. An organization is giving 4-state kids with cancer a chance to have a summer camp experience at home. It's called Camp Quality Ozarks, and it's excuse me. It's hosting a virtual camp-in with several activities for kids and their families. Now, normally the camp would be in person, but of course, because of COVID, going to play it safe this year, go digital. Yesterday, the organization hosting a camp kickoff, which happened to be in person.
It's a lot harder to plan a week-long virtual camp, but man, in the end, it's definitely worth it. Getting to be together for these 2 hours tonight, we definitely had to take a lot of COVID precautions, but we got that under wraps, and we were just so excited to get these 2 hours together.
And the virtual camp-in, it runs all of next week. Now that we're a little past 5:07, let's go ahead and jump to the Skywatch Storm Tracker, where we're eyeballing some Wednesday morning rain to our northeast, not even affecting our highlighted counties. Now remember, speaking of our counties, we still do have a flood advisory for Berry, Lawrence, Newton, and McDonald counties that run until 9 a.m. Warming trend begins today, as our temperatures are actually going to be up into the mid-70s. We do have a chance for light scattered afternoon rain, not amounting to the flooding that we certainly had last week and early this week. And then we get to clear off on Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, a little June warmth coming in the air there, high 70s, low 80s as we head into what's really looking like a nice weekend. Limited amount of rain there on Saturday and Sunday. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, incentives to get more people vaccinated.
Moderna is the latest drug company to file for full FDA approval as infections decrease across the nation. I'm Elise Preston with a look at why experts say time is still critical to get millions more vaccinated.
Allen Community College, their women's soccer team headed to the national tournament. We're going to take a look at their send-off. And if you want to lace up those running shoes, it happens to be Global Running Day. You'll see me headed down the street if a bear's chasing me, and that's about it. What beginners need to know before they head out the door is you're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Crowder College Rough Riders avoided elimination the last 2 days at the Junior College World Series taking place in Grand Junction, Colorado. Crowder won back-to-back games after falling to Indian Hills in the opener on Saturday. Last night, a chance for revenge against Indian Hills in an elimination game, and revenge is a dish best served when you beat them 12-8. Look at this. Crowder scores 8 runs in the 6th inning. Now, the Rough Riders get today off, and then they are now in the national semifinals come Thursday.
We put ourselves in a great situation. We got a day to recover, rest a little bit, and come out there on Thursday night and hopefully do well enough to get to the game where what we came out here to do in the first place is to compete for a national title.
Opening night for some American Legion baseball. We've got Pittsburgh Post 64 at home against Iola Post 15 in the first. Dylan Bycroft drops it into left. Braden Cole rounds third and scores. Iola gets 2 runs in the first inning. Their big inning was the third. Drake Delatorre shoots it back up the middle to score another. Iola gets 9 runs in the third inning, goes up 11-1. Post 64 gets one back here. Cameron Williamson goes the opposite way. That brings in Gavin Wampler. But Iola breaks out the bats. Post 15 beats Post 64. Final score, 13-3. Allen Community College women's soccer team is headed to the national tournament. The Red Devils earning their trip to Georgia by beating Pratt 3-0 in the regional finals last week. So that means a little send-off celebration Tuesday morning before they hit the road to go to Evans, Georgia. Allen's going to be the 11th seed in a 12-team national tournament. Pool play begins on Friday. This season, the Red Devils have already earned conference and regional championships, hoping to cap it off with a national championship over the weekend.
Oh, it feels awesome, and just feels the nose that we're, at the very least, we're in that top 12 group, somewhere in there, and the fact that we're able to do that and bring that to Iola and to the school that we love so much says a lot and means a lot.
Right now, we're just focused on playing our game, doing what we know how to do, so see if it works out for us. But I love this team, they're my best friends, so it's a good experience.
Best of luck to Coach McGinnis and those young ladies as we will be tracking their progress and bring you the latest over the weekend. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, what one woman calls an accidental shooting.
A UK billionaire's daughter-in-law has been charged in the death of a top police officer in Belize. I'm Greg Belka in London. That's my story. Coming up.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
You're invited.
Just a touch past 5:17. Still a great time for weather on the 7s. Now that we have turned the calendar into June, one thing that we were talking about yesterday is during the noon hour. Our yearly precipitation, 19 inches. That's right on our historical norm, to be honest with you, through the first 5 full months. Last year at this point in time, we had 10 more inches than what we had right now. We're up close to 29 inches as far as precipitation from January 1 in the year 2020. Now, luckily, we get to take a little break here as all the rain stays out to the east of us. We still do have flood advisories, though, for this morning. For Newton, McDonald, Lawrence, Berry counties, runs until 9 a.m. right there. But remember, advisory is better than a watch, better than a warning. So we will take that. Live look from 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. 60 degrees is where we stand. Going to be one of those mornings where temperature is pretty stagnant to begin with. 58 in Pittsburgh. Let's go 60 in Anderson, 59 in Chanute and Miami. The nice thing is, we're going to actually get some sunshine later on this afternoon, be able to raise into the mid-70s. I think we're going to get warmer than 71, that's for sure. Now, Future Track is going to bring us some scattered afternoon showers, mainly after 1 p.m., and not looking at anything severe, no flooding worries, really. And then we're going to clear off early Tuesday morning, and then we let some good old-fashioned heat wave kick in. Been a while since we've been able to say that, but look at these temperatures headed into the weekend. High 70s on Thursday, 80s running for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We keep those rain chances for Thursday and Friday very slight, just in the afternoon hours. Picks up a little bit for Saturday and Sunday afternoon, kind of reminiscent of what we're used to during the summer when the warmth and the instability kind of combined during the later afternoon, early evening hours, but don't even show up on the old severe thunderstorm risk map. We like that. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, because it is Global Running Day, a day for experienced runners to rededicate themselves to their passion for running, and also a day for beginners wanting to make a life-changing commitment to running. So if you're starting out, a couple tips: make sure you got properly sized shoes, hydrate, listen to your body. If you feel like you need a break, take one. Our Insta poll this morning is, how often do you go on a run? Interesting to see if these numbers change throughout the course of the show. Make your voice heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. No coincidence, Health Watch is next.
Topping Health Watch this morning as President Biden gets set to deliver an update today about our country's response to the pandemic. Organizations across the country continue to offer creative ways to get people vaccinated. But as Elise Preston explains, new vaccine data could be reason enough.
Incentives continue to pile up for Americans who have yet to get vaccinated. In Massachusetts, Worcester Red Sox fans 18 and older who get a shot at Polar Park, where the AAA team plays, will get a free ticket to a game plus a hat.
I'm glad to get it out the way, it's just one less thing to think about.
Krispy Kreme announced it's given away 1.5 million free donuts to people who show their vaccine cards, a promotion that's about 2 months old. Some scientists say if freebies help, great, because unvaccinated people need to move quickly.
If we don't reach herd immunity soon, I think we're going to still see outbreaks in places where the vaccination rates are low.
Nearly 51% of all Americans are fully vaccinated, and cities across the country are reporting record low infections.
Here in New York City, once the epicenter of the pandemic, there were no reported COVID deaths yesterday, the first time that's happened in nearly 8 months.
Philadelphia became the latest city to lift capacity limits on transit.
It's been a period of sadness. I do believe that we can appreciate even more what's coming and what we have to look forward to.
Moderna, meantime, is joining Pfizer in filing for full FDA approval of its vaccine. If approved, they could boost vaccinations among Americans who said they prefer more data before getting their shots. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Pfizer and Moderna also announced good news for pregnant and breastfeeding moms. Both companies say new research shows the vaccines are safe. Antibodies were also found in both infant cord blood and breast milk of vaccinated moms. A new Canadian study is dismissing the notion that vitamin D can protect against the coronavirus. Researchers analyzed more than 4,000 patients with COVID and more than 1 million people without the infection and determined that levels of vitamin D were not linked to less severe COVID cases. The American Heart Association is urging people with mild high blood pressure and cholesterol to move more and sit less. Doctors say otherwise healthy people should seek lifestyle changes, beginning with increased physical activity before turning to medication to manage hypertension or high cholesterol. High-quality education early in life could pay big dividends for a lifetime. A new study at Virginia Tech finds enhanced learning and social experiences before the age of 5 are linked to increased size of the brain in adulthood. People with larger brains tend to perform better on cognitive tests. And good news for early birds. A new study says waking up earlier, even by just 1 hour, could help lower your risk of depression. A genetic study of 840,000 people examined the connection between sleep timing and mood. It found shifting sleep time by just 1 hour reduced the risk of depression by 23%. Study researchers say the discovery could have important implications for a post-pandemic world, as many people working and learning remotely shifted to a later sleep schedule. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Nice to have a Skywatch storm tracker this early in the morning that does not involve rain for our highlighted counties, as everything is moved off to the east of us. Mostly cloudy start right now, and remember we do have flood advisories for our counties indicated in green that last until 9 o'clock this morning. From the national perspective, it's east of the Mississippi now. Remember when we were undergoing that flooding last week and earlier this week. The east of the Mississippi was quiet as can be, and then you've got a massive heat wave to the south that's going to the west, excuse me, it's going to bring them some record-setting June temperatures. We're finally going to start to feel like June as the warming trend begins today and lifts us up into the high 70s and 80s as we head into the weekend. And of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Indigo.
The man who tried to rescue a 12-year-old drowning victim last week dies. Plus, a Chautauqua, Kansas woman speaks out after the city shut off her electricity, why some confusion delayed a solution. And Neosho considers changing its policy on keeping fowl in city limits amid complaints from residents.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We can say goodbye to the rain, at least for today. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip for a first look at your forecast.
At least for this morning. Live look over 7th and Rangeline with the mostly cloudy start. You know, we're only 29 minutes away from sunrise, but clouds kind of dominating right now. Usually we get like a little peak of it coming up. Current conditions in Joplin, 60 degrees. It's going to be another morning of very stagnant temperatures. Wind very light, but is blowing in from the north-northwest with high humidity. So let's probably be thankful that we're sitting high 50s, low 60s right now. As far as the Skywatch Storm Tracker, our Wednesday morning rain sits off to the east of us. Really not going to have anything coming in from the south nor the west. So that's good news right there. We still do have a flood advisory for 4 of our counties in southwest Missouri lasting until 9 a.m. As far as what we're looking at temperature-wise right now, like I said, anywhere from mid-50s to low 60s. It's the eastern portion that's actually dominating with the 61s and 60s right now compared to the west part where it was actually warmer yesterday. 59 in Miami, 57 in Fort Scott. Nevada's seen a nice little bump up, 4 degrees here in the past half an hour. Our weather trend is going to lift us into the mid-70s later on with gradually clearing skies and some afternoon sunshine. Now this afternoon, really between, say it starts a little after 1 p.m., scattered rain rolls through, kind of generates over us. It's gone by about 8, 9 o'clock tonight. 7-day forecast, warming up, limit those chances for rain on Thursday and Friday, get us up into the high 70s, low 80s.
All right, looking forward to these warm up in temperatures. I think we're ready for it.
They're going to stay with us there through the middle of June, it looks like.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the man who tried to rescue 12-year-old Kaylin Brown last week has died. 34-year-old Trevor Hicks was pulled from Shoal Creek by rescue crews on Wednesday. He'd gone in to try to rescue the child who had been swept up in the current. Kaylin Brown died and Hicks was hospitalized. Missouri State Highway Patrol reports Hicks died Tuesday morning. A GoFundMe page is set up to support the Hicks family. Missouri State Highway Patrol says 4 people died on Missouri roads during the Memorial Day weekend and 2 others died on the water. The patrol released figures for the 3-day weekend that began Saturday and ended Monday. The patrol cited 270 accidents on roads and 10 involving boats. Jasper County Health Department reports 2 new COVID-19 deaths. The patients were 2 men, one in his 50s, the other in his 60s. The latest deaths bring the county's total to 158. Prior to yesterday's report, it had been about a month since the last reported COVID-19 death in Jasper County. The Joplin Health Department is also reporting a new COVID-19 death. It's their first since March. The patient was a 77-year-old man. The city's total is now 131. The Neosho City Council met on Tuesday. One item on the agenda was to discuss a possibility of updating a city ordinance for the keeping of animals such as chickens and roosters. The reason it was brought up was due to an increased complaint from residents about odor and noise. Local police say if an ordinance were in place, they would be able to enforce codes to keep the animals under control.
Well, we have an animal control officer and we have a code enforcement. So if these ordinances were to change and we got complaints to certain areas and they were in violation of that ordinance, they would receive a warning for a while, and then it would go into citations.
After the council meeting, the council says the issue would be covered under the city's existing noise ordinance. Local police would issue citations under that. There was some confusion in Chautauqua, Kansas after a woman's electricity was shut off. Sharman Vaughn says her electricity was shut off Tuesday morning because she couldn't pay for a part of her bill. City-operated utility in Chetopa saw bills skyrocket when gas prices climbed during the bitter cold in February. Customers were to pay off their bills through monthly installments. Vaughn says she was waiting for a shutoff notice so she could finish her application for low-income energy assistance through the state, but says she did not get anything other than her normal bill.
I've been told by the city that it's on the back of your bill. We don't send out shutoff notices. It's on the back of your bill. That is your shutoff notice. Okay, that'd been nice to know this whole time.
Between her and our communication with the city, the right paperwork was sent in to get her assistance going, which paid her balance, so her electricity was turned back on. City officials say other residents whose electricity gets turned off should attend a city council meeting so the council can discuss an individual plan. Meetings are the first and third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. President Biden is in Oklahoma. He was yesterday to mark the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. President's visit is meant to honor the survivors and victims and meet with their descendants. The president also unveiled new initiatives to help communities of color across the country. His administration is launching a $10 billion community revitalization fund aimed at supporting underdeveloped communities like Tulsa's Greenwood District. And the Fort Scott, Kansas Public Library is once again open to the public. It had closed due to the pandemic, and there are still some pandemic-era rules in place. Masks are not required, but visitors are asked to follow CDC guidelines. Library employees are just happy to see their patrons again.
It feels really good. The people who've been in so far have been happy to see us when it's not just yelling through a locked door, hey, how are you, have a good weekend. So it's nice to be able to actually see people as close to face, you know, still 6 feet apart, but a lot closer.
Library hours are 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to 1:30 on Saturdays. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A Wisconsin woman dubbed the fairy godmother of her town after giving girls prom dress gowns and wedding dresses for free. Plus, the daughter-in-law of a British billionaire was arrested and charged in the shooting death of a police officer in Belize. We'll have the latest. We'll have the details on the shooting, but first, it's 5:37.
Forecast bringing us gradually clearing skies and a warming trend that begins today. Still do have a chance for scattered afternoon showers. Really, best chance is going to be after 1 p.m. till about 8 p.m. Certainly not looking at anything severe. And no torrential downpours like what we had earlier this week and last week. 7-day forecast. We keep on warming up. 70s and then 80s over the weekend. We'll be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, a British billionaire's daughter-in-law has reportedly confessed to accidentally shooting a top Belize police officer. The officer's family is now demanding answers. Greg Palcott has more.
The daughter-in-law of British billionaire Lord Michael Ashcroft has been charged in the shooting death of a top police officer in Belize. Jasmine Harden was arrested and charged with manslaughter by negligence on Monday. This after she reportedly confessed to accidentally shooting 42-year-old Superintendent Henry Gemott.
It seems rather personal and not an attack on law enforcement. Our investigation in respect to that matter will continue.
Local media claiming police say Harden and Gemott, who were said to be friends, were at a pier early Friday. Harden is reported to have given a statement to police in which she claimed the policeman asked her to hand over his service pistol and the gun accidentally went off. Police suggest Gemott fell on Harden, and as she tried to get him off, his body fell into the water. Officers found his body floating nearby with a bullet wound.
Police found the female on a pier, and she had what appeared to be blood on her arms and on her clothing.
According to accounts, Harden initially told detectives Gemott had been shot by someone from a passing boat. Gemott's family has raised doubts about Harden's story, and now they're demanding answers.
We are depending on the police investigation to set the record straight for us.
It is reported in Belize a charge of manslaughter could carry a sentence of up to 25 years in prison. but could be reduced to a fine of $10,000. Climate change is taking a deadly toll on health. Sweeping new research found more than a third of the world's heat deaths each year are directly due to global warming. Health data was gathered by dozens of researchers who looked at heat deaths in over 700 cities worldwide from 1991 to 2018. Researchers say the findings make a case for taking strong action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in order to protect public health. Daredevil drivers take on the ultimate challenge across the pond. It's a need for speed and height as drivers attempt to fly over a line of cars at a raceway in West Sussex, England. The 2021 car jumping competition Monday drew big crowds. Some drivers managed to pull off the dangerous feat, while others crashed into other cars and flipped over. The drivers are judged in 3 categories, including elevation, distance, and reception from the crowd. Kraft Heinz is bringing back the production of its ketchup and other condiments to the UK for the first time in 2 decades. The U.S. food giant said it will be pumping some $200 million in a plant northwest of England over the next 4 years. The proposed investment is subject to final U.S. approvals. It would be the company's biggest expansion of an existing manufacturing site outside its home turf in more than 20 years. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, grab those jogging shoes and hit the road because today happens to be Global Running Day. Well, number one, it's a day for experienced runners to rededicate themselves to that passion for running, but also two, for beginners wanting to make a life-changing commitment to running. So if you're starting out, a few tips: make sure you have properly sized shoes, hydrate, and listen to your body. If you feel like you need a break, take one. Whether you run just a few miles or just around the block, you can share that experience on social media. That's right, there's a hashtag, Global Running Day. Our question to you is simply stated: how often do you go running? Right now we've got 25% that say daily and 75% that say never. We don't seem to have anybody in between as of yet. You can make your voice heard by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The man who tried to rescue 12-year-old Kaylin Brown last week has died. 34-year-old Trevor Hicks was pulled from Shoal Creek by rescue crews on Wednesday. He had gone in to try to rescue the child who'd been swept up in the current. Kaylin Brown died and Hicks was hospitalized. The Missouri State Highway Patrol reports Hicks died Tuesday morning. A GoFundMe page is set up to support the Hicks family. The White House has suspended all leases for oil and gas drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska. The leases were sold at auction shortly before President Trump left office. The Interior Department says it's reviewing their legality. President Biden went to Oklahoma to pay respects to the victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre. A century ago, as many as 300 residents of a once affluent neighborhood known as Black Wall Street were killed, and more than 1,200 homes and businesses destroyed. The president called it a largely forgotten part of the country's history that needs to be remembered. The Neosho City Council met on Tuesday. One item on the agenda was to discuss a possibility of updating a city ordinance for the keeping of animals such as chickens and roosters. The reason it was brought up was due to increased complaints from residents about odor and noise. After the council meeting, the council said this issue would be covered under the city's existing noise ordinance, and local police would issue citations under that. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Sky's getting just a little lighter over 7th and Rangeline, but still no peak of sunshine yet as we find ourselves only 11 minutes away from official sunrise over Joplin. It'll be 5:59 on this June the 2nd. 60 degrees is where we stand, 59 in Miami, 56 in Independence, and then a slew of 60s running from Lamar and Carthage. So pretty comfortable when you walk outside. Here's a heavy cloud cover. Nice thing is all this rain stays out to our east. We don't have to worry about anything falling this early in the morning. Now, with that being said, remember we still do have flood advisories down in the southern portion of southwest Missouri, McDonald, Newton, Barry, Lawrence, those running until 9 a.m. I think we should be allowed to let those expire here because we're going to be dry up until the noon hour. All the action really east of the Mississippi as far as the rain goes. They've got an oppressive heat wave out to the west with the big ridge of the jet stream right there. It'll flatten out a little bit here in the next couple of days, and that's what's going to bring us warmer temperatures, but we'll get nothing like the record-setting heat that they've had out to the west. Even with the mostly cloudy start, we'll kind of clear off before the noon hour. Not a whole lot of break, but at the same point, we'll still get some sunshine, be able to make it up into the 70s. Now, we are going to pick up just some afternoon scattered rain, say about 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., and we're not worried about anything flooding. It's not going to come down that hard, and it's going to push out of here, and nothing severe. No wind, no hail, so let's call those winners. Now, the warming trend begins today. It's going to be nice. We were talking about mid-60s yesterday in Joplin. Got up to about 73, 74 today, and then look at this. We're rolling 70s and then 80s into the weekend. Thursday and Friday are going to be delightful, with those rain chances holding off at 10%. A little uptick there for Saturday and Sunday. Most of our rain action is going to be just like today, afternoon into early evening. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
That crap.
A Wisconsin woman is being called the fairy godmother of her town. That's because she gifts teen girls with prom gowns. Andrea Albers spoke with the woman who does it all without a magic wand.
In this farmhouse, stuffed with sparkle and lace, is the fairy godmother of Holman, Wisconsin.
This is just not even a fourth of what I have.
Devoted to making dreams come true.
It makes them happy. One little girls, I've never been a princess before. She's just twirling around, and it was just, that's the thanks I get. I love it.
Prom gowns and wedding dresses for free or a fraction of the price.
I don't get rich on this. No. I do it just to help girls. And the money that the girls pay for some of the dresses goes to pay for the storage. So it's not a get rich thing.
It's more like break even, if you can. This started with a small collection when Judy Wolf saw a second life for her daughter's discarded formal dresses.
Ooh.
Many of these gowns are donated.
I like that.
Or Judy buys them herself. She's become a self-taught dry cleaning whiz and an expert seamstress. She's even known to do alterations for free.
There's not a dress that you can't use. If it's got something wrong with it, you can tear it apart and make it into something else.
And she tucks lessons between the tool.
And I say it right to them. All I ask is that you pay it forward. Give the dress to someone else when you're done with it.
She wants the girls to learn how to give back, so she's spending time teaching them to sew tiny gowns for stillborn babies or preemies that don't survive.
You don't want to get gratitude or anything, you know. What I think is really nice is the photographers that come in and take pictures. They did that for my daughter. Took a lot of pictures of the baby and stuff too.
Some of Judy's wedding dresses have stubborn stains, or the style may be a little too dated, so she transforms them into these miniature angel gowns. Something that was not available the day her granddaughter was stillborn.
And when I saw that poor little girl with this diaper 3 times bigger than her, laying wrapped in a blanket, I couldn't believe it.
Teaching comes easily to Judy.
It is healing. It helps.
She used to be a nurse aide in the school system until she was put on permanent disability in 2002.
It's been hard. I mean, I've got a cupboard full of medicine that I have to take and stuff. Let's see.
Judy is plagued by health problems because she was a 9/11 volunteer.
That was when the towers came down. That was over there too.
Working about 4 blocks from Ground Zero, where she and thousands of others were exposed to toxic dust.
The numbers are just so high. Just within a week, just last week, there was 5 of them passed away with cancer.
And while she cannot earn a paycheck like she used to, Judy calls the work she is doing worth it and says it has helped her navigate the peaks and valleys of PTSD.
I still don't regret going. I mean, I look at all the people that I was able to help, even though I'm, sick. But there was a lot of people I could help while I was there.
Her perspective is rare and refreshing. So before our conversation was over, we had to ask Judy where that seed of volunteerism got started.
My dad was a volunteer firefighter. And my mom always, taught us, always do for others, don't always do for yourself.
A wonderful woman. Today, Judy has given away 500 dresses. The angel gowns she makes are donated to local hospitals. You can find out more about her wedding and prom dress projects on Facebook, Guardian Angel Gown Rental, or the beautiful Butterfly Project Prom. Awesome. We'll be right back.
Should be a pretty nice four-state June 2nd, especially our morning. Temperatures not too bad right now, low 60s. And the warming trend is underway. Clouds part as we head toward the noon hour. Now we do have a chance for scattered afternoon rain. Nothing right now. Everything hangs out to the east. And so when we get to future track, really in between about 1 p.m., 8 p.m. is where we see that develop. And we're not looking at anything severe out of here shortly after sunset. So if we're going to talk about doing things outside, put today in the fair category just because it's still a little soggy out there, especially down in southern southwest Missouri. But Thursday, Friday, and Saturday looking great, especially with the fact that we're going to have limited rain chances and warm temperatures finally starting to feel like a little taste of maybe early summer, if you will. We'll be right back after this.
21.
The man who tried to rescue a 12-year-old drowning victim last week dies. Plus, a Chautauqua, Kansas woman speaks out after the city shut off her electricity, why some confusion delayed a solution. And Neosho considers changing its policy on keeping fowl in city limits amid complaints from residents.
The four states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Well, we can say goodbye to the rain, at least for this morning. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip for our first look at your forecast.
Just officially past sunrise over Joplin, but the overcast skies preventing us from seeing any light on the horizon right there. But the positive aspect of it is don't have to worry about the windshield wipers being on. Sitting at 60 degrees, very comfortable outside. If not a little cool out to the west here, where we've still got 55 in Sedan and Independence, 54 in Iola. Compare that to 61 right now in Carthage, 60 in Lamar, and 59 in Miami. All that rain staying east to the Mississippi. Our clouds slowly beginning to break there in portions of southeast Kansas down to northeast Oklahoma. Now remember, we still do have flood advisories for 4 of our counties indicated in green. Hopefully we can lift those at 9 a.m. We're going to have a very comfortable day. They can keep all that rain out there on the other side of the Mississippi. They can keep that oppressive heat wave that they got on the west coast out there as we get to sit back and enjoy temperatures in the mid-70s. Now with that being said, of course Mother Nature can't be perfect. So we got to put up with some afternoon scattered rain, say between 1 p.m., 8 p.m. Kind of develops over us. Not looking at anything severe. Not one of those bands that's going to roll through and flood us or, cause anything severe thunderstorm risk-wise. More so early June showers. And today begins the warming trend, as we'll have high 70s on Thursdays and 80s from Friday into the weekend.
All right, well, got more chances for rain and warm temperatures. Can't complain about that.
Nah, it is like nothing compared to like what we had last week and earlier this week.
All right, thanks, Michael. The man who tried to rescue 12-year-old Kaylin Brown last week has died. 34-year-old Trevor Hicks was pulled from Shoal Creek by rescue crews on Wednesday. He'd gone in to try to rescue the child who'd been swept up in the current. Kaylin Brown died and Hicks was hospitalized. Missouri State Highway Patrol reports Hicks died Tuesday morning. A GoFundMe page is set up to support the Hicks family. Missouri State Highway Patrol says 4 people died on Missouri roads during the Memorial Day weekend and 2 others died on the water. The patrol released figures for the 3-day weekend that began Saturday and ended Monday. Patrol cited 270 accidents on roads and 10 involving boats. Jasper County Health Department reports 2 new COVID-19 deaths. The patients were 2 men, one in his 50s, the other in his 60s. The latest deaths bring the county's total to 158. Prior to yesterday's report, it had been about a month since the last reported COVID-19 death in Jasper County. The Joplin Health Department is also reporting a new COVID-19 death. It's their first since March. Patient was a 77-year-old man. The city's total is now 131. Well, there was some confusion in Chautauqua, Kansas after a woman's electricity was shut off. Sharman Vaughn says her electricity was shut off Tuesday morning because she could not pay for a part of her bill. City-operated utility in Chetopa saw bills skyrocket when gas prices climbed during the bitter cold in February. Customers were to pay off their bills through monthly installments. Vaughn says she was waiting for a shut-off notice so she could finish her application for low-income energy assistance through the state, but says she did not get anything other than her normal bill.
Your bill, we don't send out shut-off notices. It's on the back of your bill. That is your shut-off notice. Okay, that'd been nice to know this whole time.
Between her and our communication with the city, the right paperwork was sent in to get her assistance going, which paid her balance, so her electricity is now turned back on. City officials say other residents whose electricity gets turned off should attend a city council meeting so the council can discuss an individual plan. Meetings are the first and third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. The Neosho City Council met on Tuesday, and one item on the agenda was to discuss a possibility of updating a city ordinance for the keeping of animals such as chickens and roosters. The reason it was brought up was due to increased complaints from residents about odor and noise. Local police say if an ordinance were in place, they would be able to enforce codes to keep the animals under control.
Well, we have an animal control officer and we have a code enforcement, so if those if these ordinances were to change and we got complaints to certain areas and they were in violation of that ordinance, they would receive a warning for a while, and then it would go into citations.
After the council meeting, the council says this issue would be covered under the city's existing noise ordinance, and local police would issue citations under that. Joplin Public Library announces the start of its summer reading program. This year's theme is Tales, as in animal tales, and tales like stories. The program features challenges based on reading time, which people of all ages can work towards to earn prizes.
A big component of the summer reading program here in the children's department is to help kind of mitigate the summer slide, the loss of literacy skills over the summer. And so we really want to kind of keep reading the focus in children's and families' lives throughout the summer.
To get more people involved, the city is offering free trolley passes throughout the reading program to people who sign up. President Biden was in Oklahoma yesterday to mark the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. The president's visit is meant to honor the survivors and victims and meet with their descendants. The president also unveiled new initiatives to help communities of color across the country. His administration is launching a $10 billion community revitalization fund aimed at supporting underdeveloped communities like Tulsa's Greenwood District. 6:07.
We've got temperatures right now that are in the 60s and 50s. I've been going through every sky camera I got, Tanya, looking for a sliver of blue sky and sunshine somewhere. Just cannot pick one up as of yet. Scattered rain between 1 and 8 p.m. Not looking at anything severe. Warm temperatures, limited rain Thursday and Friday.
That's a look at this morning. Weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, it's Wildcat Wednesday. We'll have a preview of the upcoming Favorite Foods contest. And researchers begin studying the need for COVID-19 booster shots. Plus, why this beer koozie may remind you of your dad's sneakers. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, stocks were mixed to start the shortened trading week. On Tuesday, the Dow added 45 points. The Nasdaq lost 12. S&P 500 fell 2. AMC continued its climb yesterday with shares gaining 22% and closing above $31. It had been trading at around $2 a share to start the year. Along with GameStop, the movie theater chain has become a favorite of traders on social media. Amazon is for legal marijuana. In a blog post, the company's head of retail says it supports federal legislation that would legalize cannabis and also expunge criminal records. Amazon will stop drug testing its employees for marijuana, except for those regulated by the Department of Transportation. Walmart extends store hours as it moves towards post-pandemic business again. The retail giant says it's going to open stores earlier at 6 a.m. starting Saturday, June 5th. The exception will be on Tuesdays when Walmart continues early hours for seniors. Pharmacies and vision centers will resume normal hours starting July 3rd. The increase in store hours is the first since November of last year. Well, the perfect beer koozie to kick back and relax and remind you of your dad. New Balance and Miller Lite team up to create the Shoezy. This beer koozie will remind folks of the New Balance 624 trainer sneakers, which many fathers tend to wear. And they don't just look like sneakers, they also feel like them. Each one features a rubber sole and breathable leather to keep beers cold, supported, and comfortable. You can head to the shoezy.com to enter the Father's Day sweepstakes, and 50 winners will be drawn from a list of about a dozen states. That's it for Money Watch. Let's toss it over to Michael for a look at your forecast.
It is Global Running Day, so yeah.
It's fitting, very fitting.
Sure, New Balance loves to be, boom, TV magic. Sure, New Balance loves that business opportunity. Live look outside of 7th and Range Line. Now, tell you what, we just can't get any slivers of sunshine up here. 60 degrees is where we stand. 59 in Miami, 58 in Nevada, and 57 in Neodesha. So it's not too bad when you walk outside. There's a little northerly breeze. Look at all this action east of the Mississippi right here. We deserve a little break. And everything we see is pretty much in central Missouri right there. A little bit trying to intrude upon our far eastern counties of southwest Missouri. I know everybody in Monette, Mount Vernon, that's the last thing that you want to see coming out of the sky is additional rainfall, but it's going to push out. We're really not going to have any worries until we get to the afternoon, and even the afternoon is just going to be showers. We do have flood advisories, though, for those places that got 3 to 4 inches here past couple of days. Hopefully we can let those expire at 9 a.m. Now, aside from the rain on the east side of the Mississippi, oppressive heat wave out to the west, big ridge of the jet stream. We actually find ourselves just below the trough, but that should keep all that Gulf moisture from getting on us this morning. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's also why our temperature is pretty mild for this time of year right now. But I tell you what, it's just about from the Rockies all the way to the West Coast. They're breaking late May/June record heat on a daily basis. We're going to be mid-70s. Can't beat it. Gradually breaking up the clouds as we head toward the noon hour. But we do have a chance for a little scattered rain here by the time we get to this afternoon. About 1 p.m., about when it generates. And not one of those bands that sweeps in, just kind of settles over us there, a little instability up in the air, but not heavy rainfall and not looking at any lightning, wind, hail, nothing like that. And really by the time we get to about 8, we're done. And when we cruise into Thursday, that's when we begin our heat wave. So if you want to get anything done outside, I know today is almost real soggy coming off the past 2 days there, but Thursday through Saturday, we are looking good, if not excellent. It's not going to be oppressively hot, high 70s, low 80s. Now, got a little rain almost kick in Saturday afternoon. Still, we're sitting around 82 degrees. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News and a Wildcat Wednesday right after this. To the KOAM Morning News, and on this Wildcat Wednesday, coming off of last year, understandably, we had to do so many functions virtually. And the Wildcat Extension District has certainly done a marvelous job of making sure that a lot of our youth and a lot of our communities still were able to attend a number of events. But now that we're transitioning into 2021, things are getting better and better as the days go by, and we are kind enough to be joined by Sherry Nelson of the Wildcat District. Sherry, number one, thank you for everything you were able to do with our communities virtually, but now we're going to open this thing up because we've got a great opportunity for people to get together. Talk to me about our favorite foods competition.
Yeah, we have our 4-H favorite foods show competition coming up next week. It's going to be Monday, June the 7th. This is a competition that 4-Hers can sign up for. It's designed to teach kids several different things. It teaches them proper table settings. It teaches them how to plan a menu and nutritional values. So what the kids will do is they'll pick a theme. I've kind of set up a table here behind me, and it's kind of a Father's Day theme type thing. Huh? And they'll pick one food off their menu that they want to prepare. So it could be anything. It could be a dessert. It could be a drink. It could be the main dish. It could be a vegetable. It could be whatever. So for the menu I have planned, we're having a sizzling burger. It's made with pepper jack cheese and all kinds of good stuff.
But this is one thing that I've always loved about the Favorite Foods event, because on the surface it sounds like, oh, I'm just going to pick my favorite foods and my favorite food and perhaps, make it in the kitchen. But you've turned this into such a nutritional aspect for the 4-Hers. Kind of take us through the whole idea of making sure that they have a healthy, complete menu. While they're only picking one food, they're still developing a menu.
Right. They're developing a menu that kind of goes with that favorite food that they're selecting. So like with this, we have, we're having a burger. So we're going to fix some potato salad. We're going to have some fresh fruit, like watermelon on the table for dessert. We're going to have some fresh asparagus. We're going to grill some asparagus to go with this, and some iced tea or lemonade to go for the drink. So try to incorporate all the food groups into those menus, and just some general nutritional values that, food pyramid type stuff that they can learn about. I guess it's my plate now. It's not my food pyramids anymore, but it's my plate. But, they learn about appropriate serving sizes. They'll sit down, the judge will come to each table and we'll look at their placemats, their place settings, and their, all of that type of stuff. And the judge will visit with each 4-Her about the nutritional value of their favorite food. Why did they choose that food? Things like that. It could be any number of things. And so I'm looking forward to see what the kids come up with this year.
I bet mom and dad greatly appreciate them knowing how to correctly set a table as well. Sherry, what's been the feedback not only from adults that bring their kids out to this, but also the young men and women of 4-H to be able to get back and have these events in person?
Oh, it's tremendous. The kids, the parents, everybody, they're just ready to get back to some kind of normal. Mm-hmm. And so by being able to do some of these events in live and in person are tremendous. The kids just, they miss that social aspect of being able to visit with their friends. And so we will have a virtual option available if somebody, isn't comfortable or has a, health concern that they want to do it virtually. But we'd much prefer them to come out live and in person. So
run us through the particulars there coming up next week as far as what we need to know and where we convene.
If you want to come out and take a look, we're gonna start about 4:00 out at the Wilson County Old Iron Club. It's out on Jade Road here in Fredonia. They've been gracious enough to let us use their big meeting room out there so we can spread out. The kids will have their tables set up. The judging will start probably about 4:30, and the judge will make their rounds, and then we'll select a winner.
And
once again, winners, and those winners will get to go on to the area competition on June 22nd. In Emporia.
Oh, how nice! And, okay, so if I'm a 4-Her and I'm like, oh, now I've heard. Now I got to get into this. How do we get in touch with you?
You can. It's all the information is available on our Wildcat District website, or they can just email me directly at cnelson@ksu.edu.
And Sherry Nelson from the Kansas State Extension Office, Wildcat District. Sherry, it's great to catch up with you once again. And hey, coming up here, hopefully by the end of the year, I can get you back in the studio.
I look forward to it, Michael.
All right, Sherry Nelson on this Wildcat Wednesday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, there's positive news in the U.S. with COVID-19 cases and deaths declining, and health officials want to keep it that way. That's why they're beginning a study to see if we can mix and match vaccines for booster shots if they are needed. Gary Baumgarten has the story.
The National Institutes of Health is in its early stages of a study looking at mixing COVID-19 booster vaccines for fully vaccinated adults. The study involves 150 people. Researchers want to know how individuals' immune systems respond if they receive a different booster vaccination and if there are any safety risks. The testing comes as the United States continues to report declines in COVID cases and deaths.
The numbers are going down like this. Listen, over the weekend, we had less than 6,000 new cases.
Parts of the country are still reopening and loosening restrictions. Minneapolis and St. Paul are ending their mask mandates. Pennsylvania's mask order may be completely lifted later this month if 70% of residents or more are fully vaccinated. But doctors don't want people to let their guard down.
follow the CDC guidelines for distancing and masking, especially in public areas where you don't know other people's vaccine status.
And as America continues to reopen, there still are questions about whether employers can mandate that people get vaccinated.
Legally, specific employers and businesses can probably say you need a vaccine to get in.
We could learn later this month if the FDA will approve Moderna's vaccine for use in young people ages 12 to 17. A new study suggests masks and social distancing are still needed even with vaccinations. Researchers reported that even with a majority of the population vaccinated, the removal of precautions could lead to an increase in the virus spread. They found coronavirus infections, hospitalizations, and deaths would continue to rise if school closures, social distancing, and mask-wearing precautions were lifted while vaccines were being rolled out. According to the agency, about 40% of the total U.S. population has been fully vaccinated. A new study suggests it is unlikely for coronavirus to be transmitted through blood transfusions. Researchers at the National Institutes of Health and others examined more than 250,000 blood donations from March to September of last year. COVID-19 was detected in just a few of the samples. The Food and Drug Administration currently recommends anyone who has been diagnosed or suspected of having COVID-19 wait at least 14 days after symptoms subside to donate blood. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Fresh air forecast going to give us gradually clearing skies. As a matter of fact, we're starting to see a peak of blue every now and then after a mostly cloudy morning. So our temperatures can finally begin to make their way into the 70s. Now we do have a shot for some slight showers, really between, say, 1 and 8 p.m. But for our morning hours, we've got a little bit hanging on the far eastern edge of southwest Missouri. It's actually from that rain out in central Mo that doesn't want to budge right now. But I tell you what, anything outside of Lawrence and Berry County is welcome because they still have flood advisories. We'll be right back. Update those flood advisories right after this.
The man who tried to rescue a 12-year-old drowning victim last week dies. Plus, a Chautauqua, Kansas woman speaks out after the city shut off her electricity, why some confusion delayed a solution. And Neosho considers changing its policy on keeping fowl in city limits amid complaints from residents.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We can say goodbye to the rain, at least for this morning. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip for first look at your forecast.
We've got a little blue sky outside of Television City, far up in the air, but you lose context as far as where exactly the camera's pointing. So we go out to the southeast right there, where we're still waiting for it to clear. Then we transition, go to the north from 7th and Range Line. You see a little sliver right there. But even with our mostly cloudy start, it's very comfortable outside. 59 degrees is where we stand right now in Joplin. A little bit cool out to the west, 55 in Sedan and Independence, and still hanging on to the high 50s there in Lamar, Carthage, and Miami. Most of the rain sitting out to east of Mississippi. Now this right here along our very, very eastern counties of southwest Missouri, it keeps generating right over there. It's not so much that everything's moving from central Missouri toward us, that everything's moving west to east, just keeps on popping up right over there. And this is the last place that we want to see it too, right in between Mount Vernon and Monette, because we've got to remember that's where we had that 3 inches of rain earlier this week, and we still have the flood advisories that are lasting until 9 a.m. Now, I was hoping those were going to be allowed to expire. Still feel confident saying that, but you know, that even if the light rain keeps on coming down, I think those very well could get moved to about 11 a.m. or noon. Now, the trough of the jet stream right underneath of us, that's that big U shape that you see, and that's what keeps your temperatures kind of mild. But the warming trend does begin today. As we'll get up into the mid-70s, we are going to have to put up with some afternoon and early evening rain, say from about 1 to 8. Should be done, though, by the time sunset is here, not looking at anything severe. And then get ready for some actual June-like temperatures from Thursday all the way to the weekend, as we'll be in the high 70s, low 80s. Keep those rains minimal at best for Thursday and Friday.
No kidding.
Or yes. At worst, I should say. Minimal at worst.
Yep, we need it. We need a nice dry stretch. Everyone's getting...
And really the rain that we do see there on Saturday and Sunday, similar in nature of today. It'll be afternoon into the evening and not looking at anything severe.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the man who tried to rescue 12-year-old Kaylin Brown last week has died. 34-year-old Trevor Hicks was pulled from Shoal Creek by rescue crews on Wednesday. He'd gone in to try to rescue the child who'd been swept up in the current. Kaylin Brown died and Hicks was hospitalized. The Missouri State Highway Patrol reports Hicks died Tuesday morning. A GoFundMe page was set up to support the Hicks family. There was some confusion in Chautauqua, Kansas after a woman's electricity was shut off. Charmin Vaughn says her electricity was shut off Tuesday morning because she could not pay for a part of her bill. City-operated utility in Chautauqua saw bills skyrocket when gas prices climbed during the bitter cold in February. Customers were to pay off their bills through monthly installments. Vaughn says she was waiting for a shutoff notice so she could finish her application for low-income energy assistance through the state, but says she did not get anything other than her normal bill.
I've been told by the city that it's on the back of your bill. We don't send out shutoff notices. It's on the back of your bill. That is your shutoff notice. Okay, that'd been nice to know this whole time.
Between her and our communication with the city, the right paperwork was sent in to get her assistance going, which paid her balance, so her electricity was turned back on. City officials say other residents whose electricity gets turned off should attend a city council meeting so the council can discuss an individual plan. Meetings are the first and third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. The Neosho City Council met on Tuesday. One item on the agenda was to discuss a possibility of updating a city ordinance for the keeping of animals such as chickens and roosters. The reason it was brought up was due to increased complaints from residents about odor and noise. Local police say if an ordinance were in place, they would be able to enforce codes to keep the animals under control.
Well, we have an animal control officer and we have a code enforcement, so if these ordinances were to change and we got complaints to certain areas and they were in violation of that ordinance, they would receive a warning for a while and then it would go into citations.
After the council meeting, the council says this issue would be covered under the city's existing noise ordinance and local police would issue citations under that. Well, this is what the Joplin DMV looked like last week when severe storms brought flooding to our area. Well, this is what it looks like now after things have dried out. But an improvement is coming thanks to some volunteers. Joplin High School football players stopped by the DMV to help. Flooding damaged a lot of furniture and other items in the DMV. So the volunteers helped remove a lot of those items, and the DMV has been closed since the flood. Officials say it'll still be a few days before they're able to reopen. Fort Scott, Kansas Public Library is once again open to the public. It had closed due to the pandemic. There are still some pandemic-era rules in place. The masks are not required, but visitors are asked to follow CDC guidelines. Library employees are just happy to see their patrons again.
It feels really good. The people who've been in so far have been happy to see us when it's not just yelling through a locked door, hey, how are you, have a good weekend. So it's nice to be able to actually see people as close to face, you know, still 6 feet apart, but a lot closer.
Library hours are 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to 1:30 on Saturdays. An organization is giving area kids with cancer a chance to have a summer camp experience at home. Camp Quality Ozarks is hosting a virtual camp-in with several activities for kids and their families. Normally the camp would be in person, but because of COVID, it has gone digital. Yesterday, the organization hosted a camp kickoff, which was in person.
It's a lot harder to plan a week-long virtual camp, but man, in the end, it's definitely worth it. Getting to be together for these 2 hours tonight, we definitely had to take a lot of COVID precautions, but we got that under wraps, and we were just so excited to get these 2 hours together.
The camp runs all of next week. A new event is coming to downtown Miami. The city announced yesterday that the Route 66 Heritage Festival will be on July 30th and 31st.
Get ready to, kind of celebrate the other side of COVID and really celebrate being back out, being a part of what makes Miami, Miami. and just welcoming, visitors from really everywhere traveling Route 66. We want this to be an annual destination event. We want when people are planning their Route 66 trip, they'll plan it around this weekend in Miami, Oklahoma, because they'll, the national acts and the things that will continue.
The Route 66 Heritage Festival will feature vendors and music from Keith Anderson, Jared Neiman, and Thompson Square. Love Thompson Square. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a cybersecurity concern.
A cyber attack shuts down a major meat supply company. I'm Elise Preston with a breakdown from experts who answer if this attack could trigger a shortage.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, how often do you go on a run? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Temperatures right now, high 50s, low 60s, actually able to make it up into the mid 70s later on. Chances for rain in between 1 and 3 p.m. Overnight, the rain ends after sunset, partly cloudy and calm and heating up as we head into the weekend with 80s from Friday into Sunday. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Have you ever asked Jesus?
Topping Nation Watch this morning, police in Texas are investigating the finding of a dead child's body to see if it's linked to a reported missing child. A body was found in a Best Western Inn Tuesday night in Jasper. Police were called after the body was found in a tote bag located in a room. Authorities say there are indications the body had been there for some time. Jasper police have been in touch with Houston investigators. Again, this is in Jasper, Texas, not Jasper, Missouri, who were expected to arrive, investigating to see if the boy's body matches that of a 6-year-old boy, Samuel Olson, reported missing in Houston last week. Jasper police also say they're questioning Olson's father's girlfriend. The White House has suspended all leases for oil and gas drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska. Leases were sold at auction shortly before President Trump left office. The Interior Department says it's reviewing their legality. A cyber attack that shut down a major meat supplier is unlikely to lead to shortages in the grocery store. JBS says the vast majority of its plants should be operational today, but cybersecurity experts say the recent surge in similar attacks is a cause for concern. CBS's Elise Preston has details.
The world's largest meat supplier is coming back online today after making significant progress against a ransomware attack. Brazil-based JBS was forced to cease cattle slaughtering operations at 13 of its meat processing plants in the United States. The company told the White House the attack came from a criminal organization likely based in Russia.
The White House is engaging directly with the Russian government on this matter and delivering the message that responsible states do not harbor ransomware criminals.
Industry experts don't expect consumers to see a meat shortage.
Now, if it was the entire industry, then yes, I think you'd probably start to see a run. But knowing that it's one company, consumers may not react with that much of a knee-jerk like they did with toilet paper cleaning products.
Last month, a ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline led to gas shortages. Russian hacking group The Dark Side claimed responsibility and walked away with over $4 million from Colonial.
You have to make sure you actually have visibility into the threat.
Cybersecurity expert Jason Crabtree says companies need to do a better job protecting their systems.
The reality is that consumers are going to continue to experience more of these kinds of disruptions given the relatively nascent state of defenses in a lot of major U.S. corporates and other global corporates around the world. We've got to demand more.
President Biden recently signed an executive order strengthening the federal government's cybersecurity defenses. Elise Preston, CBS News.
The attack on JBS also affected plants in Canada and Australia. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, time to grab those jogging shoes and hit the road because it is Global Running Day. If you're an experienced runner, a chance to rededicate yourself to the passion for running, and for beginners, make a life-changing commitment to running. They pass along several tips for you. Make sure you have properly sized shoes, hydrate, and listen to your body. If you feel like you need a break, go ahead and take one. Our question for you, how often do you go on a run? Right now, 11% say daily. We finally had somebody chime in with weekly at 5%, as well as every once in a while 5%. 79% say never. Maybe you take it up today. I don't know, let us know if you do. Anyway, you can make your voice heard by going to the KOAM News Now Facebook page or voting on our Insta poll. That's koamnewsnow.com/vote. Come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next. We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero, Sergeant Eddie Lowe, who served in the United States Army from 1968 to 1970, a veteran of the Vietnam War and a member of the 199th Infantry Brigade. His hometown, Walker, Missouri, we salute you, Eddie Lowe, this morning's four-state hero. We begin our birthday list off with Winter Jacobs. Winter, I absolutely love the spelling of your first name. I think that is so cool. Winter is celebrating her 22nd birthday in Pittsburgh.
And we have Orrin Humble turning 42 years old this year. All right, he's got his cake. Wait a minute. His cake says 46. 40 and 56. I'm thoroughly confused here now. Orrin celebrating a birthday in Pittsburgh.
Brian Natalini, a happy 58th birthday. And Mr. Brian, he's celebrating in Columbus.
All right, Bob Owen celebrating birthday number 79 in Chanute.
Also in Chanute, Sandy Gailmore. Very happy birthday to you, Miss Sandy.
James and Robin Zorns are celebrating their 8th anniversary. They're in Riverton.
And John and Allison Clyburn, they have their 9th anniversary. Lovely family picture right there. The Clyburns are in Galena.
All right. And the Thorntons are celebrating in their lovely family picture there. Brett and Brianna Thornton celebrating 8 years together.
Cheryl Simpson, a happy birthday in Weir. Bo Johnson is celebrating in Neosho. Happy birthday to Bo. And Milo and Janice Kellerman, 48 years. Congratulations, Milo and Janice. The Kellermans, they are in Iola. Happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. You'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
We'll take a look at our tower cameras here. We'll start with 7th and Range Line. Still waiting on a sliver of blue sky somewhere, somehow. It'll show up. Here's our current conditions over 7th and Range Line. 59 degrees is where we stand. A little northeasterly breeze coming in just 5 to 10 miles per hour. Not looking at anything big. As far as our temperatures right now, 58 in Pittsburgh. Let's go 55 in Sedan and Independence. 59 in Miami. We've seen a nice little bump up here in Nevada. At one point in time, it was all the way down to 53 degrees pre-sunrise. Now sitting at a very comfortable 57. We are trying to just get rid of some rain. Just wants to hug the eastern edge of southwest Missouri. It's very, very light, but particularly right here in between Monette and Mount Vernon, that's the last thing that they need. I don't care even if it's a light raindrop because of the 3 to 4 inches that they picked up already earlier this week, coming off of the flooding that we had last week. And that's why we still have flood advisories for McDonald, Newton, Lawrence, Berry counties running all the way until 9 a.m. Looks like we're going to be able to lift those, though. Don't think those will be extended. Really, most of the rain action now on the east side of the Mississippi, a nice little break from what we've had past couple of days when we were going through our flooding. Everything on the other side of the Mississippi was completely dry, so they can pick up the slack for us. Then out to the west, you've got oppressive heat. They're breaking records and have been ever since late May into early June right now. You can tell the trough of the jet stream, that U shape, stays under us, kind of forces that Gulf moisture down to the south and actually will provide us some mild June-like temperatures. Now, as we progress through our planner for today, we'll get up into the mid-70s, and finally, by the time we get to the noon hour, a little sunshine as well. But you'll notice these panels right here that we'll get to in just a second do have some scattered showers on them. Overnight, we're going to end the rain after sunset and be partly cloudy and calm and open up tomorrow with sunshine. But here's what we got for that rain. And like I said, we don't want any of it over here. I guess if there's one thing that's going to be a nice relief for this rain, we're not going to see, number one, any torrential stuff, and number two, nothing serious. We don't even show up on the severe thunderstorm risk map. It'll stick around for a couple hours. It's not going to be widespread. Not everybody's going to see rain today, and eventually taper off there by 8, 9 o'clock. Now, as we transition to our 7-day forecast. Warming trend really does begin today because we only got up into the mid-60s at Joplin Regional Airport yesterday. I know we had some 70s on the board, but they're in the central portion, only mid-60s. So we begin to warm up into the 70s today. Keep that trend going. High 70s, low 80s into the weekend. Thursday and Friday going to be dry and warm. We'll be back. Wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
The Book of Proverbs.
Final look at our Instapoll results on this global running day, asking how often do you go on a run. The nevers just continue to go throughout the course of the show. 84% chiming in right now. Remember, you can take part in our Instapoll each and every morning by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Tanya?
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The man who tried to rescue 12-year-old Caitlin Brown last week has died. 34-year-old Trevor Hicks was pulled from Shoal Creek by rescue crews on Wednesday. He'd gone in to try to rescue the child who'd been swept up in the current. Caitlin Brown died and Hicks was hospitalized. The Missouri State Highway Patrol reports Hicks died Tuesday morning. A GoFundMe page is set up to support the Hicks family. White House has suspended all leases for oil and gas drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska. Leases were sold at auction shortly before President Trump left office. The Interior Department says it's reviewing their legality. President Biden went to Oklahoma to pay respects to the victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre. A century ago, as many as 300 residents of a once affluent neighborhood known as Black Wall Street were killed and more than 1,200 homes and businesses destroyed. The president called it a largely forgotten part of the country's history that needs to be remembered. The Neosho City Council met on Tuesday. One item on the agenda was to discuss the possibility of updating a city ordinance for the keeping of animals such as chickens and roosters. The reason it was brought up was due to an increased complaint from residents about odor and noise. After the council meeting, the council said this issue would be covered under the city's existing noise ordinance, and local police would issue citations under that. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
A little morning break from any rain. Now, we will have some showers kick in between, say, 1 p.m. and 8 p.m., but at the same point in time, we get a taste of June temperature-wise up into the mid-70s in our rain. At least nothing torrential and shouldn't pose any flooding concerns. Clearing out just in time for Thursday, so if you got outdoor activities, tell you what, we're going to roll that good category Thursday through Saturday. Only reason I put fair in for today is I know it's still a little soggy out from our early week rain. 7-day forecast, high 70s, low 80s, all the way from Thursday into the weekend.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making a perfect portobello pizza. It looks delicious in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
All right, that wraps it up for this edition of the KOAM Morning News. Please have a wonderful Wednesday. Get out and enjoy some morning fresh air. Do me a favor and be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.